Robots Radio presents
Fresh Tomatoes, the movie podcast.
I'm not usually a hat fan, but wow.
Jeg vil ikke være en dagger.
I'm really sipping on that dumb bitch juice today, and
Yeah, I am. But you know what? Someday I just might grow out of that. But you will never stop being a jerk.
All chocolate cakes are good. You're a fascist.
it's hideous.
It's horrible.
It's home. Angry white boy, let's go!
Hello, and welcome to Fresh Tomatoes, the movie podcast, the only movie podcast to look back at things that are retconned and just go, wow, you guys really did that thing. That's Simone LaRue.
And that's Chad Ekowitz. I wonder what you're talking about.
I wonder. But before we get into it, Simone, I want to ask you, if you could retcon anything from your life, what would it be?
Oh, I'd love if I were secretly very wealthy the whole time.
Oh,
I just
how
had a
good would that
rich
be?
relative desperate to bequeath their fortune to me. Desperate.
Oh, it would be so good. So good. And like it just works out perfectly for everything you've done. Yeah, I completely agree. Or every piece of property that you kind of like, not even like fully like, just kind of like was magically yours, or like a relative who has just died and it's just now yours forever.
Yeah, I'd love, oh man, because also I've kind of liked a lot of properties.
Exactly, right? You'd like a kitchen in one property. Look at that. Mysterious Aunt Petunia. She's
Thanks,
dead
Aunt
now,
Petunia.
and that property is yours.
What would you retcon?
Oh, I would definitely, I think potentially like royalty, or like maybe like a superpower, like maybe like super strength or something.
Yeah.
You know, like I was never injured as a child and no one knew why, and then you find out when I'm older that I've got superpowers like
Plot
super
of
strength or something.
Unbreakable.
Look, I'm not a very imaginative person. This is why I do a review movie podcast rather than creating my own content.
Yeah, we're not
Come
doing a
on.
screenwriting podcast.
Yeah, you can't expect too much from me. I don't know why you expect this much of me.
I like that you say royalty, but I feel like with royalty, you have to be very specific, right? Like you have to like you want to be like distant royalty, like not so distant that you're like poor, but like distant enough that there's like not a lot of responsibility on your shoulders.
Yeah, I would say maybe like 20th in line to the
Yeah.
to the throne. That's like the sweet spot. That's the Goldilocks zone of being royalty, I think.
You get invited to
You
all
know?
the good parties, but no one expects anything of you.
Exactly. It's perfect. It's perfect. You get to go to the Met, but you don't have to act like a royal at the Met. Perfect. It's a perfect situation. Yeah.
One day.
One day, I would love to go to the Met. I don't know what I would do there, but I would just love to go, just to
I
say
would
that
just
I've been.
stare shamelessly and openly at everybody.
Well, talking about staring shamelessly and openly at everyone, if that fits, what are we doing this week, Simone?
Oh my goodness, Chad. We are going back. We are looking at the remakes of beloved childhood favorites, and we are deeming them worthy or unworthy. So we are doing The Witches, and we are doing Cruella.
Yes, it's very, very exciting. You know, both of us have very strong feelings about Cruella, especially if you've listened to the minisodes, you'll know how serious we are about that film. So it was nice to actually finally get to review it, come face to face with our demons. Yeah. Right. Well, let's jump straight into it. What are you drinking today? Let's decide an order of activities.
I'm having a nice red wine. It was a public holiday today, so I don't have that weekday energy, you know? There's no weekday chaos.
yeah.
It feels like a Sunday night to me, like usual. So I'm great. What are you drinking?
Oh gosh. I'm very excited for this energy today because obviously I've got the weekday energy, plus the being late to recording energy, and then you've just got the calm Zen weekend energy. This could go out any way. This is an immovable object meeting an unstoppable force. Who knows what's going to happen? Yeah, it might be our best episode ever, or more than likely, our worst.
Only one way to find out, Chad.
Well, I have gone the complete opposite of you in terms of wine, and I am drinking a white wine.
Ooh.
I got home, I knew that there was a little small bottle of
Looks like a
white
mini
wine
bar
in my...
bottle.
It's adorable, isn't it? My girlfriend got it for me. It's a Pinot Grigio. It's the Pierre 42.
Oh.
Very, very nice. It's quite sweet. It's lovely. It's delicious. And it's in a little small bottle, so I can finish the whole thing. Who cares? It's not to work.
Yeah. You're done with work.
Exactly.
And
So
are you even lawyering if you don't come to work with a mild hangover on a Tuesday morning?
that's what I would expect, right? That's what you would that's what you would want. I mean, and then you just do a bump of solicitor cocaine in the morning to just get a pep in your step.
Yeah, they have that. Like, there's like the coffee, the pastries, and then your solicitor cocaine.
Exactly. It's the trifecta of what makes a good lawyer, really. Yeah. So, I mean, red wine is usually stronger than white, is it not?
I don't know.
I mean, this is your jurisdiction.
I'm happy to
not
go
mine.
first if that's what you're getting at.
I feel like we should get witches out of the way because there's not really much to say about the witches, is there?
It was fine. I liked it. So yeah, let me just give you a quick reminder of what happens in The Witches, especially for those of you who maybe tragically didn't grow up reading Roald Dahl. Okay. So, the main character apparently does not have a name. He's just referred to as Hero Boy on IMDb.
Spectacular. That's a great
especially because I'm pretty sure he does have a name.
That is, yeah. I mean, I'm sure he is referenced as something in the movie. Like, that's very confusing.
Fine, whatever. we carry on. So our hero Mouse Boy. Oh God, I gave it away. Oh God.
Oh, it's ruined. The whole thing is ruined.
Our hero boy, played by Jazir Bruno, loses his parents tragically in a car accident and moves in with his grandmother, played by Octavia Spencer. He's initially very sad, but Octavia Spencer is a delightful grandmother who lifts him out of his depression. One day, while he's in a store, he meets a very odd woman. He's immediately like, grandma, like, people are really weird. And his grandma's like, nuh-uh, you just met a witch. Witches don't just come out of nowhere. They will follow you, so we got to get the fuck out. It turns out that witches hate kids. They hate them with a flaming passion, and they will do anything they can to stamp children out. So it's very important that they get away. The grandma also had a traumatic experience with this when she was younger. Her friend Alice, played by Ashanti Princess Sappho, got turned into a chicken. Yikes. So they go to this beautiful hotel in Alabama, where the grandma's brother works, or grandma's cousin works. While they're there, it turns out that they've actually walked into the lion's den because the witches are having a huge global meeting of witches at that very hotel that very week. The Grand High Witch is played by Anne Hathaway. There are a couple of others worth noting, like Saoirse, played by Orla O'Rourke, Samantha, played by Eurydice Elateur, and Esmeralda, played by Anna Maria Mescal. They're all very cool and very scary. So our hero quickly realizes that, oh no, this is not going to be good, and he hides while listening in on their secret meeting. It turns out that the witches have a potion to turn mice into, fuck.
That's twice now. You've ruined it twice. You've shown the lead twice.
I'm gonna start up. Turns out that the witches have a potion to turn children into mice. Their plan is to open candy stores all over the world and use them as a cover while they turn children into mice, thereby eliminating the scourge altogether. In order to demonstrate that this technology works, the Grand High Witch poisons Bruno Jenkins, played by Cody Lee Eastick, and he is unfortunately turned into a mouse. He is luckily rescued by our hero's pet mouse, Daisy, who we later find is named Mary. She was first turned into a mouse ages and ages ago and has found solace and comfort in staying with our hero, even though he thought she was a mouse the whole time. Voiced by Kristen Chenoweth. That's fun.
Yeah, it's cute.
And then unfortunately the witches realize that our hero is listening in and they turn him into a mouse too. All three of them are mice. Oh no. They make it back upstairs and he's able to talk to his grandma and he's like, okay, we got to get turned back. Unfortunately, they can't figure out a way to reverse the potion. So they settle for the next best thing, which is poisoning all the witches. Hijinks ensue where they at last pour some of the potion into the soup intended for the witches. They all drink it and turn into mice. There's a last little showdown with the Grand High Witch where they manage to defeat her in her hotel room. She gets eaten by her own cat. And then they realize that she's got a bunch of money in a trunk, as well as the name of all of the witches in the world. So their plan, even though they can't turn back into humans, is to go around getting rid of all the witches using the leftover potion and eliminating them forever. We end off with our hero, still a mouse, but older and voiced by Chris Rock, getting a bunch of kids jazzed up to go witch hunting. The end.
Great story. Great. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
So what's your cliffhanger for this one?
Oh, my cliffhanger is going to be this one, which is pretty much any line that Anne Hathaway says at all.
Oh,
I think like
so
maybe
glad.
her first speech where she's like, "You're all useless. Look how many children are out there." It's so fun.
I'm so glad you chose Anne Hathaway, anything that she said, because really, can we just speak about the accent? Please.
I think like I get what she was going for, and I thought it was really fun, but it was like it's a kids movie, right? So you want to overact like a little bit. But it was just like a bit too overacted. Like I feel like as a child, I'd feel a little condescended to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely an adult trying to tell a child sort of something that's like funny and trying to be like really silly and not age appropriate. But also, just where is she from? Because there were like hints of Russian, hints of Romanian, and then like
Chad?
Swedish.
She's a witch. Her mouth doesn't work right.
Look, I have feelings, and I feel that Anne Hathaway is a much better actress than this. And so when I see her unable to sort of locate an accent, it's very upsetting. You know, it's the same as Robert Downey Jr. with his Welsh in Dr. Dolittle.
Oh,
you know,
God,
you
I
expect
erased that entirely.
Exactly. Now bring these two together. These two are the accent phonies of the universe, and it was just like I just expected more from her. That's all I want to say about it. You know, it was just very off-putting every time she went to speak. I was just like, oh, I don't want to listen to you anymore.
I also, I kind of thought like what would be better, because like this whole thing is actually set in Alabama in the 60s. They experience obviously because they're both Black, the grandma and our like main character boy child,
hero boy
they experience some microaggressions from like very early on, and it's like made very clear that like class and privilege are like a thing. So I would have thought like the cool commentary there would have been to give her a very Southern white lady accent.
Yeah, that would have been good, actually.
A little commentary
I agree with you
on racism.
Yeah.
I mean, they already did it, right? Like they were already like, oh, witches prey on children that are like basically minorities or poor because no one gives a shit.
Exactly. Yeah. And then
like,
they even said like, we're going to a white hotel. Like they really play on it, and it's excellent. And it looked like it was going somewhere. And then it just, like they took the swing and then they just missed, man.
Yeah.
Like it was a shame, because I mean, it's very clear like Disney is very, very good at sort of race, bringing race into the story. I would say they're pretty good at it.
Like, they're good at it. I'd say they do it.
I don't know.
And they pat themselves on the back for being like the vaguest version of what they can be.
Look, I know you and I have very different feelings about Zombie and Zombies 2, with the fact that, you know, the protagonist has white hair, so she feels very prejudiced against. But you know what? For a kids movie to try and like deal with you know, critical race theory, this is what we can ask for, you know. And so you're absolutely right. And then even this falls below that very low bar. And you're very, very right in that respect. Other than that, I mean, it's perfectly fine. To be honest with you, I never watched the old Witches, so I have nothing to compare it with. I know, very, very damaged child. I know.
Okay, so in the old Witches, it's Angelica Houston playing the Grand High Witch, and she is phenomenal.
Amazing. I can imagine she would be so good.
Yeah, no one's villainous quite like Angelica Houston's villainous.
Exactly. Exactly. So as someone who has seen the old one before and clearly likes it very much, what did you feel in sort of comparison? Did you compare the two at all?
Yeah, yeah, naturally.
Mhm.
So the thing about the first one that was always very interesting to me,
Yeah.
was like it's actually very scary. Like the scenes where the kids transform
Oh,
into mice is like quite horrifying. Like it had these really
right.
interesting graphic and like practical effects that were fucked up scary. And the witches were also really, really scary. Like they didn't just take
hmm
off their wigs and have like wide mouths. Like they took off whole rubber
hmm
masks. And then underneath
Oh,
they were
wow.
all like warty and had these like hook noses and they were like very scary.
Right. That's
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, so it
That's
was just
cool, man.
a little bit more upfront with that. But that being said, I really liked the effects they used on this. I liked
hmm
their creepy clawed hands, especially Anne
Yeah.
Hathaway with her foot with one toe.
With one creepy
Oh,
raptor-like toe. It was grim.
hmm.
It was very cool. Very,
Yeah.
very cool.
And I thought it was cool also that well, I always like that they just stay mice. Like it's just like, oop,
Yeah.
sucks to come up against witches.
That was very cool, and I think that is something that you got to really enjoy about Roald Dahl as well, isn't it? It's the fact that his
It's
stories
dark.
aren't just always sort of like, oh, we're gonna have a happy ending. It's sometimes it sucks, and it's really nice that the boy hero boy kind of falls into it, and he's like, you know what, I'm actually okay with this.
Yeah.
There's that really sad line that he gives where he's just like, I wouldn't mind staying a mouse forever because then I don't have to learn to drive, and then I don't have to worry about being in a car crash. And you're just
Oh,
like,
my
holy
heart.
shit. Wow, the trauma of this child wanting to stay a mouse so he can avoid that fate. Good Lord.
Oh. That, what did you find interesting? Like obviously you've never watched a witches movie before,
Mhm.
so like how did you feel? How'd it go?
Look, I enjoyed it for the large part. I thought, it is relatively funny. I thought it was nice to see sort of Octavia Spencer do something like this again.
Mhm.
She's been in a lot of serious things recently, so to see her do something a little bit more fun was really nice.
Yeah.
You got is it Stanley Tucci in this one? I can never
Yes,
remember.
as
Yeah, it's Stanley
the
Tucci.
concierge.
Yeah, and he was just perfectly delightful in this. Absolutely adored him in this. So you had some really strong characters in this. I enjoyed the sort of uh, really sort of flamboyance of the witches. Their little when they clap and it sounds like little clickety click claws, and it was just like, ooh, this is grim. There's lots of little nice things about this movie. I think overall it's very sort of white bread. There's not much to it. You kind of get through it and you're like, fine.
Yeah.
But there are just like really sweet moments that you really appreciate.
Yeah. The whole beginning bit where Octavia Spencer's like helping her grandson through his grief is
Yeah.
genuinely really, really nice. I will say also the setting, like the hotel itself, is beautiful. It's so cool. Like that whole hotel.
Yeah.
I thought like visually this movie was actually really, really cool.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Yeah, the color palette and everything was very, very well done. I also like the animation, which is very rare for something like this. But I thought what they did with Anne Hathaway when she turned into a rat was really well done. She looked very, very menacing, and it was such a cool look. And even sort of the animation of their faces with the wider jaws and the noses that can grow to like 8 foot long and things like that. Very, very cool idea. And yeah, you got to appreciate that. And to be fair, thinking about sort of, Octavia Spencer gives the whole speech about the witches and like why they're so grim and everything. And you're like, I can understand that. I'd be pretty mad if my head was itchy all the time from wigs. And I'd be pretty, anti-children if they smelled like, dog poo all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't necessarily go and kill them, but
yeah, because I was also like, there she is living her best high witch life. Like she doesn't have a bunch of kids around. She just travels around with her cat and is like super rich. How fun.
Yeah, exactly. Just enjoy that. Like, she complains at one point about like how money is like the most important thing to humans, but you have a ton of it. Just like, just be in line. Like it's fine. Yeah, go to a place. You've got so much money that you shouldn't actually have to worry about wearing a wig.
Yeah.
Like that's how much money she has in this film.
Or at the very least, there should be some sort of way to avoid wig rash with that much money.
Right? Yeah, yeah. I mean, okay, it's the 60s. I understand, like, wigs were probably very uncomfortable
I'm
in those
sure the
days.
technology's changed somewhat.
But even so, like a very nice, like, do-rag or something, very chic, very
nice.
60s
Yes,
chic.
a nice turban, nice wrap.
Why not? Yeah.
Why not?
These witches were not very sort of au fait with their fashion. Silly. Very
Certainly
silly.
not.
So what about you? What did you like about this one outside of your comparison to the old witches?
Yeah, I think I covered it already. Just like I thought Octavia Spencer was a delight. I loved all the visuals of this movie. It was a very pretty movie to watch. Yeah, it was fun. It was just a nice kids romp. The only thing that confused me was they really heavily imply that Octavia Spencer is like ill and like death is imminent. And then they cut ahead and it's clear like she's been alive for a while because he's really old as a mouse. So and she's fine.
Yeah. Well, I assume it was the witches who made her sick in the first place, but it doesn't
but
go
that's
anywhere.
never made clear. Yeah. And she's not suddenly like, I'm cured.
Yeah, it's sort of just it's one of those things that could have been really cool, and it also adds to the tension of the movie.
Yeah,
because that's the one thing that I felt was very lacking in this movie is the tension.
Yeah.
You know, there was no point where I was like, oh, squeaky bum time, this is gonna get really intense. You know, it was just, oh, we're going from one rump to another and shenanigans, and yeah, it's all gonna be fine. Yeah. So scene that could have saved it.
Do you mean the golden nugget?
Yes, we've changed things.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm so used to how things are usually done around here. I'm not used to this fast-paced change. We're living by the New York minute, and things change so much around here. What's your golden nugget then?
For me, it would very much be, I would say like the first basically the first half hour, 20 minutes basically. I think the whole buildup of the movie is like fantastic. I think the opening scenes with him like processing his grief is so sweet. That young actor does such a good job, and then showing up at this hotel and experiencing microaggressions and Octavia Spencer just being a queen about it. And even when he's like first in the meeting room and all the witches are around, like that's so scary, and he gets turned, basically like the peak of this movie is when he gets turned into a mouse, and from there like you can
all
like
just falls apart a bit.
But yeah, like the opening of this movie is delightful. It really like brought me right back to my childhood, you know.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I loved the golden nugget for me is definitely the sort of like the Roald Dahl of it all. So there's that part where Octavia Spencer is telling Hero Boy about witches, and it's done through the rain on the window, and like, causing a silhouette, and it's done really beautifully, and that just felt very Roald Dahl to me.
So you'll also not be surprised to know that Guillermo del Toro was a producer on this film as well. Of course
he was.
Yeah.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah, there you go. It all comes full circle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just really love that aspect of it, sort of, you know, keeping true to the source material, really trying to find a way to include sort of those delicious pictures and things like that. And I thought that imagery was really nice. I thoroughly enjoyed that sort of aspect of it. Yeah. Plus, I would listen to Octavia Spencer tell me a story any day of the week.
Yeah, I would too, even if it's scary about her friend being turned into a chicken, which was a terrifying scene, by the way. It was fucked up.
Could you imagine? Like, how do you recover from that? How could you possibly recover from that?
You don't.
No. You don't. You can't. Right. So would you recommend this to people to watch?
Yeah, check it out. You know, it didn't make me as mad as I thought it was going to. Like I thought I was gonna walk away like in a rage, like how dare they do this to my childhood. But it's nice. It's a nice, like, it's an update. And it's fun.
Right. Okay. I actually disagree with you on this one. And maybe it's because I haven't seen the original Witches. But I just can't imagine myself in a scenario where I'm talking to someone and giving them movie recommendations and I'm like, you should watch the new Witches. That's my issue with it. Like I could never put myself in the situation where I'm like, do this, watch this.
Right.
Because you're gonna have to face that person again and they're gonna know what kind of person you are from that recommendation. And that's kind of not the vibe I want to give out, really.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I'm gonna stick with my sad white boys who save the day sort of trope. That's what I want people to know me as. So I'm gonna be Southpaw, Demolition Man,
Oh, God.
you know, all these really inside Llewellyn Davis, like all these really fucking,
Who
you know,
hurt you?
white boy sad saviors. Yeah, exactly. Who did hurt me? And that's what I want people to wonder. So I would probably stick away from recommending this. But I am glad I watched it. I'm not gonna lie. I am glad I watched it.
Okay, well, there we go.
Yeah. There you go. Nice little bow on that one. So shall we unwrap that bow now and delve into Cruella?
Yes, I'm very excited to hear you give a whole synopsis on this plot.
You say whole synopsis when this movie is a lot of pomp and circumstance. So it's going to be a short one. Plus, I did not write out a synopsis and I am definitely not as good as improv as you. So we're just going to go.
The magic of editing is for.
Exactly. So Estella, played by Emma Stone, is a young girl growing up in sort of like Midlands of England. She's a little bit strange in the fact that her hair is two-toned. It's black and white. In this, her personality is reflected in the fact that she sort of acts as two separate people. Estella, who is this sort of like really nice and kind child, who's very friendly, kind of a bit nervous, but timid. And then you've got the other side of her, which her mum calls Cruella, who is this sort of like outrageous, very sort of aggressive person who picks fights at school and these kind of things. So her and her mum sort of devise a plan where she says like goodbye to Cruella and hello to Estella. And that's how sort of Estella goes through school until one day where Cruella just comes out and she attacks a boy and gets expelled. Also, it's very important to note that Estella is super duper into fashion. What she does with her uniforms is she'll like remake it, and she also gets in trouble for this because she's not wearing the proper school attire all the time. So yeah, gets expelled. She's on the way down to London with her mum, where her mum's like, oh, I needed to go stop off somewhere very quickly and try and sort of, you know, get us a fresh start in London, get us some money to get a fresh start. They go to this very elaborate, huge mansion where this beautiful party is taking place. Stella goes into the party even though her mum tells her not to, and she falls in love with the haute couture because it's sort of like a sort of Elizabethan kind of theme.
I think it's a very like Marie Antoinette looking vibe.
Exactly. But it's very sort of fashionista, and so Estella completely falls in love with it. In the meantime, like she's not supposed to be there, and that's when Mark Strong, played by John the valet, played by Mark Strong. Yeah, that's the way to do it. He catches Estella, who is not supposed to be at the party, and is about to take her to his boss. That's when you see some fucking Dalmatians trying to attack Estella. So Estella tries to like run away from these Dalmatians. They're very vicious, etc., etc. She goes outside to try and find her mum. Out on the sort of veranda near an open cliff, her mum is standing talking to someone. It is not revealed who at this point, but you see the dogs chasing Estella towards her. As we get there, you see the dogs sort of jump over Estella and immediately attack her mum, throwing her mum off the cliff to her death. Estella is now a very sad orphan, and she goes to the streets of London and sort of tries to make it as a homeless person. There she meets Jasper and Horace, played by Paul Walter Hauser and Joel Fry respectively, and she starts sort of like a Oliver-esque sort of criminal gang. The three of them are sort of like pickpockets. They do sort of criminal jobs like that, and all the while Estella is making their costumes. She sort of, that's still her raison d'etre. She loves making costumes, and she does it while the other two sort of command the more criminal aspects of things. Her dream the whole time is to actually be a sort of fashion designer for what's it called, Liberty of London.
Yeah, Liberty of London.
Liberty of London. So eventually she is able to get a starter position as a cleaner there. She works there for a little while as a cleaner until one night she gets super drunk and decides to rearrange the front dressing to the front of the store. The next morning she's about to get fired when the Baroness, who owns Liberty of London and is the head fashion designer there, played by Emma Thompson, comes to the store. She sees the front window, she's super duper impressed, asks who designed it, and basically rehires Estella as her new sort of ingenue to the sort of fashion designing world. Turns out the Baroness is a huge bitch. She steals all of Estella's designs. She's really mean to her staff. She actually cuts Estella at one point with a cutthroat. It's all very vicious, and she's very mean. This is when Estella kind of, you know, starts bubbling up and turns into a bit of a Cruella. She's kind of so sick of the Baroness and her shit. At the same time, she also finds out that the Baroness was there the night her mum was killed. It turns out that the Baroness was the one who actually kind of killed Estella's mum.
She commanded the dogs to knock her off the cliff.
Yeah, with a whistle, with a dog whistle, she commanded the dogs. So it was very fun. So that's when Estella decides to turn back into Cruella and make the Baroness's life a living hell. She sort of starts her own sort of anonymous fashion line under the name of Cruella. Everyone's going crazy for Cruella's designs. The Baroness is very upset by this. At the same time, Cruella has turned into a bitch, and so Jasper and Horace are not very happy with her. They're not very happy, and they kind of miss Estella, but Cruella's like, meh, I don't care. Estella is dead. This is who I really am inside, and this is what I need to do to try and get the Baroness back for killing my mum. Basically then from there, sort of, you know, the Baroness is sort of declining in popularity while Cruella gets really high in popularity. That's when the Baroness finds out that Cruella is actually Estella. She plans to get her murdered, but luckily at the last moment, John, the valet, actually saves Estella from death. That's when we find out that the Baroness is actually Estella's real mom. When the Baroness was still married to the Baron, she got pregnant, but she didn't want to actually have a child because she was too self-centered and a narcissist and didn't want to sort of, you know, birth anyone who would kind of steal the show from her. She told John the valet to get rid of Estella, so basically kill her, but instead John decided to give her to one of the cleaners to look after. That's why when they were moving down to London, the mum decided to go to the Baroness to try and sort of essentially blackmail her into giving them some money, and that's why the Baroness killed her. As such, Estella tries to, I guess, kill the Baroness. I think that's the turn of events.
No, she frames the Baroness for her own death.
Oh yes, that's what happens in the end. I never remember the end of these kind of movies. So yes, so basically Estella confronts the Baroness and on the same cliffs where the Baroness killed her mum, and the Baron at that exact timing, everyone else from the party of that night comes out into the garden and sees the Baroness push Estella off of the cliffs. Luckily, Estella has designed her costume to be a parachute, so she survives, and just before she dies, she gifts all of her wealth, being the true heir to the Baron's fortune. She assigns all of her wealth to Cruella, who survives Estella on the death. And so now Cruella sort of inherits all the mansions. The Baroness goes to jail. Jasper and Horace are friends with her again, and she lives happily ever after until the events of 101 Dalmatians. Ooh.
Which I guess is implied, like, that just doesn't happen.
I mean, right. Okay, so I would say that that happens very much later on because, you know, Cruella in this is quite young in comparison to Cruella in the film.
I think we're making a mistake assuming that, like, this is actually supposed to connect up to the original 101 Dalmatians at all.
So
like,
you're not
I just don't see
canon?
it happening with any of the characters. Like Anita and Roger, I guess, haven't even actually met at this point. They didn't even bother putting that in. And then she also, right, she does make a quote unquote a Dalmatian coat, but it's a clever fake for the fashion shows just to get a rise out of the Baroness. So I think in that way, they're like, oh, we've ticked the boxes. She's made this coat out of Dalmatians and she looks very evil, but actually she's not the bad guy at all. She would never, they give her a pet dog very specifically to be like, see, she loves animals.
Yeah, this movie is very strange in that respect, isn't it? Because it's sort of like you say, it's so there are those series of books, right, where it's told from like the villain's perspective. Have you seen those on like the shelves of bookstores and stuff? There's like
Wicked.
There's a book called like Wicked. There's a book called Let It Go, which is from like the evil guy's point of view, and like they tell alternative histories, and this feels very much like that. It definitely, I think you are right in the fact that it's an alternative universe. I definitely cannot see this being a retcon, especially because Cruella is a villain. She's awful human being in 101 Dalmatians, and yet in this we're supposed to be like, okay, she is evil because she's, you know, the daughter of the Baroness, and the Baroness is evil, and therefore that makes her evil.
Yeah, but really by the end, she's like kind of resolved that she actually likes her friends and she doesn't want to be mean all the time and she doesn't want to be like the Baroness. And she's really just leaning into a brand at this point.
Exactly. That is exactly it, right? You know, she has those conversations with that guy, Artie. No, Artie from the store. And it's like really bitchy conversations. And you just feel like, well, this is a bit forced. This feels very not in character.
But hey, cool that they put a gay character in there, or someone heavily coded as gay, but obviously never outwardly gay because it is Disney.
Yeah, Simone, you can't call them gay if it's Disney. This man just loves musicals and he loves makeup. That's all he likes.
He just loves
He's still
makeup
into women.
Clothes and
That's why he hangs out with Cruella so much, is because he fancies the pants off her.
Right.
Like, that's why.
Right. Yes.
He's not gay. He's not gay.
Disney would never.
We'd get sued for libel if we said that he was gay.
I really liked that character though. I thought he was super cool and like a rad thing to include.
Yeah. I must say, like, that fashion show / concert that they put on.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was badass. That was very, very cool.
The whole thing, when honestly, some of the heisty moments of this actually pay off really, really well. Like when it turns out that the dress that she stitched for Cruella's spring line was full of moth eggs from South America, and they'd all hatched at once. Brilliant. So fun. Love shit like that.
Yeah. No, look, visually speaking, this movie is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, the dresses are fantastic. What they do with the characters is fantastic. I mean, Emma Stone with the black and white wig and then the red wig is just
looks great.
She's two different people. Like her whole face changes, and I think that like really speaks to sort of her amazing face shape. Is like dependent on the color of her hair, it completely like changes who she is. And it's amazing. Like they did a really good job. Makeup as well, fantastic. You know, and then Emma Thompson as well in this, absolutely perfect. Absolutely
love Emma Thompson when she gets to be a bad guy. She's so good at it.
Exactly. So, I mean, we talked a lot of shit about this and we were not looking forward to watching this. So how do you feel about it now that we have watched it?
You know what? I enjoyed it. I think the key to this is to just pretend it has nothing to do with 101 Dalmatians. Like it's entirely different. Like if you just walk in thinking like, oh, this is going to be a movie about a scrappy upstart, then it's really fun actually.
Exactly. Completely devoid of everything that happens in 101 Dalmatians. So in effect, it could have just been like another standalone movie. They didn't really
but didn't have that star power, did it?
That's true. That is true. I mean, people did watch this because it was called Cruella more than anything. I mean, and if you think about it, like you said, there's hardly any real mention towards the 101 Dalmatian franchise. I mean, there's a little bit about, you know, her mum being killed by Dalmatians and then her making a coat out of Dalmatians. And then that's it. She doesn't really hate dogs. She actually fucking loves dogs.
Yeah. And she's like adjacently friends with Anita and she meets Roger. And that's it.
Yeah. Like what? Yeah. No, it would be so brilliant if like they just kept on this trend and the next one we get is the Sea Witch from The Little Mermaid. But instead of being like a really mean person, she's just really bad at magic. And she doesn't understand that what she's doing is really like bad magic and being evil. She's just like completely confused.
She's like bad at magic and she can't live up to her mistakes. So she's just like, well, that's just what happens.
Yeah, she just fucking leans into it now. She's just like, yeah, this is what I meant to do. I'm evil now.
Poor unfortunate
I didn't want to do this. Oh no. Yes, Disney, keep doing these weird mistake movies. I love it. Yeah, I've got to agree with you. I did enjoy this movie. I
didn't want to
think of it. No, you can't think of it as 101 Dalmatians.
No.
You've just got to think of it as Emma Stone and Emma Thompson doing a fucking cool riff thing with each other.
Yeah, that's all it can be. And then you see cool outfits and cool dresses and fashion, beautiful settings, fashion. And it's great. And you that's it. And
Yeah,
Emma Stone's
exactly.
surprisingly solid English accents.
Yeah, she does good, doesn't she? She's
Yeah.
actually pretty on it with her English accent. Yeah, I appreciate her. What did you think of the twist where it is revealed that the Baroness is Cruella's mum?
Could have lived with her without it. I don't actually think it was
Yeah.
super relevant, like to
No.
her character arc very much at all.
Mhm.
And if anything, I almost wish that they'd pushed it more strongly where like she's consciously making a choice or like choosing to be like a mix of both, where like, you know, she can like, yeah, biologically she's the Baroness's daughter, but she can choose to be the other lady's daughter, you know?
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. I
Yeah.
think, you know, it's clearly trying to speak of this whole idea of like manifest destiny and nature versus nurture and all of this kind of thing. And it just doesn't really hit right. It's sort of like, oh, well, I guess I'm evil now.
Yeah.
Despite the fact like when I was a kid, I was able to say goodbye, Cruella, and it was just kind of a mindset more than anything.
Yeah.
And, you know, she clearly is very sorry for it because in those beautiful scenes where she speaks to her mother, she's actually really sort of, you know, pensive about the whole thing and wants to sort of capitulate these issues. And then she's just like, nah, fuck it. I'm the Baroness's daughter. My mom lied to me. Yeah, now I'm gonna be bad. Yeah, they could have really done a lot more with that and sort of spoken to nature versus nurture, especially with the whole dog undertones.
Yes,
the whole
exactly.
dog thing. Yes, but they failed. The themes. Where are the themes, kids?
I liked Horace and Jasper. I thought they were really sweet, and I thought it was actually a lovely addition.
Yeah.
It was very sweet. I like that they could have done like a forced romance between her and Jasper, and they didn't, which I thought was very nice. Cruella ain't got time for no man.
No.
Yeah, it was all actually quite lovely.
Yeah, very pleasant movie. I mean, Joel Fry, like you said, who played Jasper, he's just a fantastic actor. We loved him. He's been on the podcast before. And
He's got
he's
big
just a lovely,
husband
awkward
energy
guy.
as well.
Oh yeah, is that your vibe? Is that what we're feeling?
I don't know. He looks so comforting, and he's just like he looks good in a nice, comfortable sweater, you know? And at some point, like Corella's like designing something or like working at a sewing machine, and he brings her a cup of tea, and you're like, look at like this man.
Strong spooning energy.
Yeah,
Strong
yeah.
spooning energy.
He'd be, oh my God, Chad, he'd be such a good big spoon.
He would. He really would. Yeah. I completely agree with you. Just those arms. He's got long, lanky arms. You know they're going to wrap around you twice. Perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah. Who doesn't love being the small spoon? Am I right?
I love being a little spoon. Unless it's winter,
it's the
then I'm
best.
like, then I need to just like wrap myself around Rudy like a creepy koala so I can steal all his body heat.
That's great. Creepy koala. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Sort of, you know, being the small spoon as a guy, I think a lot of guys are missing out on being the small spoon. It is one of the best joys of life. Just having that comfort. Best. Guys, if you haven't, you're sleeping on it. Like quite literally, you're sleeping on it if you have never been the small spoon.
Let yourself be the small spoon, guys.
It'll change your life.
Ladies, don't be afraid to big spoon.
Yeah, absolutely. Just take that plunge. Your man will appreciate it. Yeah. So
that's our PSA
speaking of that, that's a new segment, isn't it? Our PSA for the day. So there you go. What a golden nugget. And speaking of golden nuggets, he teased himself up. What is yours for this movie?
You know, again, I think much like the last movie, I really actually loved the beginning bit where like she builds up and like she's just like the scrappy girl who loves designing clothes, and then she's working at this fashion house, and then like it's actually clear that she's super talented and she could start her own label. And I mean, the reasons for her starting her own label are revenge, but also like go her. She's too talented to be working for that hack label anyway. I don't know. I as you know, I love a rags to riches story.
That is your vibe. Yeah.
And if some heists happen along the way and some bomb outfits, like tick, 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 I'm ready.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think what's beautiful about this movie is it has an old school sort of Italian mob feel to it.
Yes.
You know how it's like in the beginning it's like these were the good days before, you know, Jimmy the Kid came along and all that kind of stuff. And that is truly beautiful.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, for me, the golden nugget has to be, like you said, the scenes where Jasper's like bringing them tea, and then this like really cute familial unit. You know, Horace doesn't want to bring Estella into the group, and Jasper's just like, nah, do it because, you know, life and things. And then like the three of them just have the best time with their little dog called, what's he called? Wink. Fucking hell,
so
Wink is the cutest dog in the world. And it's just like, yeah, I love that sort of beginning familial scenes.
For sure.
Those were super duper cute.
And you're just so happy for Estella. You're like, look at her. Oh, look, she's got a little family and they're all like joshing around and they love her so much. And it's like, oh, Cruella.
Yeah. She's doing good. I mean, she's doing bad things, but she's doing, you know, she's living her purpose. She's designing things, and that's lovely. Yeah. So, would you recommend it? This is the big question, given the history we have with this movie.
You know what? I would. It's really fun. I had a really good time watching this movie. It wasn't half as like bad or cloying or ridiculous. Like it has some very cringy lines, don't get me wrong. But overall, it's pretty fun. It's got all the stuff I like. It's got heists, guys.
Yeah, which is weird, right? Like it's a weird idea, but it's
actually a great decision, though.
Yeah, very clever. Could you imagine being in that meeting room and they were just like, right, what are we gonna do with Cruella? Heist movie. I'm sorry, what? I'm sure I didn't hear you right. Heist movie. We're gonna do a heist movie.
Yeah, her and Horace and Jasper are all best friends, and they do heists.
It was the same guy who greenlit Gremlins 2, was just like, yes. He doesn't know how to say no. He's just like, yes to everything.
Especially because then someone leaned in and they were like, fashion heists. And everyone was like, yes!
Absolutely. What a golden film. Yeah, I've got to agree. I'm going to recommend this. You know, I'm going to obviously give it with a caveat and say, do not compare it to sort of
just
the
pretend,
101
put that out of your mind.
Yeah, completely separate thing, not canonical. And just enjoy it for what it is. Enjoy it for the Emmas. They both do a great job. And yeah, fashion heist blows your fucking mind. Fashion heist. Yeah. Well, thank you, Simone. This has been really fun. I've enjoyed going back to retcon history. It's been good. Yeah,
it was a charming week for me.
Yeah, it's been lovely. It's been really fun. So tell me, what is your gratitude for this week?
My gratitude for this week is our housemate person. I don't know how to describe it. We live on the same property.
Yeah.
We don't share a house.
Your compound neighbor.
Yeah, our compound buddy. He's just the sweetest. He baked a whole thing of cornbread recently, and I have been tearing through it. Cornbread is delicious. But he's also just so lovely, and like, yeah, it's like we truly, especially after like last year where we had like such fresh hell with someone living on the property, like,
oh my god,
it's just nice to have like such a chilled, lovely friend living right there. It's been really nice, so I'm super grateful about that.
That's so good. I love that. I love that you get along with him and that you hang out with him and things. That's really cool. And like you say, cornbread, oh my god, what a way to warm your heart. Jesus Christ.
Definitely warming my heart. There's definitely more cholesterol around it than
That's what running is for.
Yeah, exactly. I ran a 10K and then I ate my weight in cornbread. It's called balance.
It's called balance, y'all.
What is your gratitude?
So before I give my gratitude, I want to give sort of not necessarily a failure of the week, but sort of a downtrodden of the week. No. So for about 4 months, I have been in talks about buying a property.
Oh.
And I was going to be really, really excited this week to give my gratitude, which was that the deal went through. But unfortunately, it did not. Unfortunately, no mortgage brokers are willing to give that amount of money to a single man trying to buy a property by himself. So basically, that's a lesson for everyone on the market right now. If you are single and you are trying to buy a house, you're kind of fucked unless you earn a shit ton of money.
Did they say specifically it was because you were single?
It was because I didn't earn enough money as a single person.
That's fun for you.
So my salary would be fine if I was going in with a co-mortgagor.
Okay.
But being on my salary as a single person, even though I had the deposit, was not good enough.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, the property market is a fucking shambles, and it's daylight robbery. So instead, I bought myself a new phone to make myself feel better.
New phone.
So new phone. I'm very happy about that. But that is not my gratitude of this week. My girlfriend came down again, and she spent time with my UK best friends. And you know, meeting the best friends is always a huge deal. And she did absolutely extraordinarily well. My best friends loved her, and it was an awesome evening. We played D&D, which was really fun. So yeah, it was a really fun evening. Everyone had a really good time, and yeah, it was just nice to be like with my friends and with my girlfriend, and sort of like having that sort of party vibes, you know, that we've been missing for like a year and a half.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad. That sounds so great.
Yeah. So it was a good end to a really tough week.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's fine. Look, I've got money now. Like I'm very sort of liquidly wealthy because this is not going towards a deposit now. Yeah, exactly. So it's weird. I don't know why I'm giving my financial status away online because
girl, take yourself on vacation.
Yeah, I might just do that now.
Drinks are on you when you come visit.
Oh hell yeah. Oh, without question, girl. You ain't paying for a thing when I come to visit.
I'll pay for something.
Not a
I'm not a monster.
No. I refuse. Oh, we're gonna fight all the time. It should be fun.
I can't wait.
So what do we feel like doing next week?
I don't know. Do you have any big thoughts?
I did, but it wouldn't really fit now, which was Olympics, but it really wouldn't work out now. No. So let me see what I've got on my list. Let me see if I've got anything good.
I mean, we can do a late Olympics episode. It only happens every 4 years, so.
The Falls, Cult, Trauma Porn, Practical Magic. I've got nothing on my little thing. Do we feel like doing a horror? Just like a pre-Christmas horror? Fuck it.
Yeah.
Or is it too soon?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's never too soon for her. I'm watching it all the time anyway. Like, it might as well be with a purpose, you know?
What did, actually, thinking about it, what did the Fear Streets get?
I think they did quite well.
Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, shit, they did.
Yeah.
They did very well.
Okay. Hang on, let me have a look. Worst horror movies of 2021.
Unless you want to do like a superhero movie.
Not really. Come on, USA Today.
I'm going for worst horror movies ever.
Oh. Apparently Fear of Rain didn't do very well.
Shudder didn't do very well. Do you remember Shudder?
What was Shudder?
Shudder was the one where you take pictures and they die, and the people die.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
You know, I've been wanting to check out Stay Out of the Attic. I heard it was actually pretty fine.
Okay.
Okay, so shall we do Shutter and Stay Out of the Attic?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool.
Shutter and Stay Out of the Attic. Hold on, I just want to write them down because I will forget. I love that we fall back on horror movies when we just don't know what to do.
We both know that this is just going to be a horror podcast eventually.
Exactly. Right, Simone. So what do we feel like doing next week?
So, Chad, we are jumping back on Old Faithful. We're back on horror. This is how you know that this podcast is purely for us.
Our listeners must just be like, oh, again? Are you fucking kidding me?
October's right around the corner. I swear, guys, this is the last one we'll do before October.
To be fair, y'all are lazy. Like, if you want us to do different themes, write into us. If you don't, we're just going to keep falling back on horror. Like, this is our vibe. So if you've got things that you want to watch, like, this is on you. You have the power to change this. Yeah. Look, I'm happy with that. So we're going to do Shutter, which got like 9%, and Stay Out of the Attic, which I've never heard of before. So that should be very interesting.
Cool when I saw the trailer, so we'll see.
Oh, this should be very exciting. What is it? New one? Is it what, 2020, 2021?
Yeah, it's from this year.
Oh, that's exciting. That's very exciting. Oh, yum. Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. What did you think of these new Disney films? What did you think of Cruella? I know lots of people have lots of different opinions about it, so we'd love to hear yours. And also, if you've got themes, that please do tell us, so we don't have to rely on Old Faithful. We don't want to keep jumping on that bandwagon, but also we kind of do, so it's completely up to you. And where do people write to us to tell us what themes they want, Simone?
They can talk to us on Facebook or Instagram at Fresh Tomatoes Podcast, on Twitter at Fresh Tomatoes MP. They can email us at freshtomatoespodcast@gmail.com.
There you have it. And while you're on the internet, why not leave us a rating? Why not leave us a review? They do really help us, and it would just be nice to hear what you guys really think about the podcast. It would help us very, 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 very much. But in the meantime, as we say at the end of every episode, we love you and there's nothing you can do about it.
We love you and there's nothing you can do about it.
Goodbye.
Bye.